least 20 boats of tourists who had gathered around an area to watch the shark work. And we had the shark on a huge 90-foot platform 30 feet underwater.
Welcome to Hollywood Bulletin, where we uncover the shocking truth behind Hollywood's biggest legends.
And at the press of a hydraulic button and pulling a lever back, supposedly the shark comes shooting out of the water head first. And this has absolutely happened because David Brown and Dick Zanuck were there watching with me.
And today, we're diving into one of the most intense behind-the-scenes stories ever told.
The shark came up tail first. It just came up tail first, and it was like a 25-foot.
Back in 1974, a young filmmaker shot what would become the most brutal scene of his life for the movie Jaws. During a preview screening, that one scene made people so uncomfortable that some felt sick and even fainted. Universal Studios immediately stepped in and told them to remove it. Now, 50 years later, newly surfaced behind-the-scenes pictures show what really happened on set and why this one moment was just too much, even for a movie about Hollywood's most famous sea monster. The journey of Jaws actually began in 1973, when producers Richard Zanuck and David Brown stumbled upon Peter Benchley's unpublished novel. Brown's wife, Helen, who worked as an editor at Cosmopolitan, spotted a tiny blurb about the book in her magazine's review section. One short sentence said, "It could be a great movie," and that single comment sparked an idea that would end up changing film history forever. Both producers stayed up all night reading the book and were completely hooked. They thought it was the most exciting story they'd ever come across. Without a second thought, they bought the film rights. Brown later admitted that if they had paid more attention to the book's details, they might have realized how tough it would be to turn into a movie. But their excitement won them over. Universal Studios backed the idea, paying $175,000 for the rights before the book was even released. It was a big risk, but one that paid off, because when the book finally hit stores in 1974, it became a huge bestseller, staying popular for nearly a year. Had Universal waited, it would have cost them millions. But because of their early bet, production kept moving smoothly. Choosing a director wasn't simple. Steven Spielberg was just 26 at the time, and although he had worked with the producers on the Sugarland Express, he wasn't sure he wanted to take on another thriller. His TV film Duel had already covered a similar idea, a man being hunted, and he worried that people would see him as the guy who only made monster films. He even tried to walk away from the project, but Universal wouldn't allow it. They insisted he stay, and in the end, it was the best move of his career. At first, the film had a modest budget of $3.5 million and was supposed to be completed in just 55 days, on paper. That all seemed doable, but things quickly got out of control. Even casting the movie was difficult. Spielberg originally wanted Jon Voight to play Hooper, but things shifted when Richard Dreyfuss showed interest. Although he initially turned the role down, Dreyfuss had just finished another movie he wasn't proud of, and, unsure about his future, he called Spielberg and said yes. This happened just a few months before filming started, showing how rushed things were. For the part of Quint, Spielberg hoped to cast actors like Lee Marvin or Sterling Hayden, but both declined. That's when Robert Shaw came on board. Spielberg also didn't want the film to feel too grim, so he asked comedy writer Carl Gottlieb, who worked on The Odd Couple, to punch up the script with some humor. Just weeks before cameras rolled, Gottlieb joined the team and soon became a key player. Every night, he'd sit down with Spielberg and the cast to go over scenes, rewrite lines, and add new dialogue. That's how the famous scar comparison scene between Brody, Hooper, and Quint came to life. But Spielberg made another bold choice that would only add to the chaos. Instead of filming in a studio water tank like most directors did, he insisted on shooting in the actual Atlantic Ocean. People warned him it was a bad idea, but Spielberg wanted the film to feel real. They set up on Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts, which at first seemed like the perfect spot. But filming at sea proved to be a nightmare. They needed shallow water that looked far from shore, and they found a location, but it constantly worked against them. Calm seas turned rough, moving boats out of place. They had to keep anchoring and adjusting 16 boats, wasting valuable time. Sometimes they could only shoot 2 usable takes per day. The crew suffered through seasickness, sunburns, and long days in the heat. Even the locals who were originally excited started to turn on them. One day, someone even threw buckets of fish guts at Spielberg's rental home. Then came the biggest problem: the shark. The mechanical shark, nicknamed Bruce, after Spielberg's lawyer, was supposed to be the centerpiece of the film, but it barely worked. The first time they tested it in the ocean, it sank. Salt water messed with its hydraulics and rubber skin, which absorbed water and made it look warped. Spielberg once screamed in frustration, saying he wanted to kill the shark. Divers were constantly retrieving its broken parts from the ocean floor. Production slowed to a crawl, and everyone's nerves were shot. By July 1974, just 2 months into production, the budget had already gone over by $2 million, and they were 49 days behind. The shoot dragged on through summer and fall, finally ending on October 6th. Over 150 days later, the final cost ballooned to around $12 million, 3 times what they planned. For Spielberg, still only 27, it felt like his career might end before it started. The producers joked that they were sinking along with the shark. Universal was furious. Executives kept showing up to cut costs and speed things up. The delays pushed the release date from Christmas 1974 to the summer of 1975, and the problems didn't stop there. Robert Shaw and Richard Dreyfuss fought constantly. Shaw was an intense actor who stayed in character and often teased Dreyfuss, calling him Hollywood. In one incident, he fired a fire extinguisher at him. In another, he grabbed him by the throat. Shaw's drinking only made things worse. Once he was too drunk to say his lines for Quint's big speech, but the next day he nailed it in one perfect take. Dreyfuss was also dealing with anxiety. He had panic attacks, especially on the tiny boat set, worried about whether the movie would fail. Roy Scheider, who played Brody, tried to stay out of the drama, but the tension affected everyone. Spielberg had to hold it all together while dealing with sharks that didn't work, actors who didn't get along, and a schedule that was falling apart.
In the end, all the chaos somehow helped the film. The broken shark meant Spielberg had to show it less, which made it even scarier. When Jaws finally hit theaters in the summer of 1975, it became a monster success and changed movie history. It was the birth of the summer blockbuster, so if you enjoyed this deep look into the madness behind Jaws, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Hollywood Bulletin, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another true story from behind the scenes of your favorite films and stars.